When we begin to reflect on how Allah works silently in our lives, one of the most profound signs is His unseen protection. Many of us take for granted the simple act of leaving our homes in the morning and returning safely at night. We assume it's normal, we assume it's guaranteed, but have you ever paused to think about the thousands of variables that could have gone wrong in between? The reckless driver who might have crossed into your lane but was somehow delayed by a few seconds. The illness you could have contracted but your body fought off before you even noticed a symptom. The harmful person who might have crossed your path but, for reasons you'll never know, was kept far away from you. These are not coincidences. These are signs that Allah, in His silent mercy, is guarding you from harm. It's human nature to notice the trials we face more than the disasters we are spared from. If a difficulty comes, we remember it. If a prayer feels unanswered, we recall it often. But what about the thousands of silent protections, the calamities that never reached us, the tears we never had to shed? Allah tells us in the Qur'an that He places angels to guard us, by His command, in front of us and behind us. We may not see these guardians, but their presence explains why the worst of what could have happened simply didn't. We don't realize how many hardships could have crushed us, but Allah quietly kept them away without us even being aware. Sometimes we only recognize this protection much later. You may hear of an accident on the road you usually take at the very time you were supposed to be there, but that day you were delayed, frustrated perhaps at the time, but in reality it was Allah's way of removing you from harm's path. You may look back at situations where you narrowly escaped a serious consequence and realize that something beyond your control was intervening. These moments are reminders that your life is constantly being shielded in ways you cannot calculate. Psychologically, this gives us a deep sense of reassurance. When we live with the awareness that Allah is protecting us, we stop obsessing over every fear, every what if. Fear often arises from imagining dangers that may never happen. But when you accept that Allah has already shielded you from dangers you didn't even know existed, your mind begins to relax. You realize that life is not just random chaos, it's guided protection. And with that understanding, you learn to trust Him more fully, even when you don't have all the answers. At a philosophical level, this also teaches us humility. We often feel we are in control of our safety because of our intelligence, our precautions, our routines. But the truth is, our precautions alone are never enough. The strongest person can be struck down in an instant. The most careful planner can face an accident they never anticipated. What sustains us, ultimately, is not our ability, but Allah's will. This realization doesn't make us careless, rather it makes us grateful. We tie our camel as the Prophet taught us, but we never forget that safety comes only from the one who owns all outcomes. And here's the point that should move us to action. If Allah protects us silently in ways we don't even notice, shouldn't we be more conscious in protecting the relationship we have with Him? Too often, we remember Him only when harm comes to us, when we are shaken and in need. But what about remembering Him in gratitude for the countless harms that never came, for the silent mercies we never saw? If we trained ourselves to thank Him for the invisible protection as much as we cry to Him for relief, our hearts would remain in constant connection. Gratitude itself would become a shield, a magnet for further mercy. So the next time you wake up and your day passes without incident, don't take it as ordinary. The absence of tragedy is also a gift. The silence of harm is also a sign. Behind that silence is Allah's active, deliberate protection of you. And when you recognize that, you begin to live with both caution and courage. Caution because you know life is fragile, and courage because you know you are never left unguarded. Never underestimate the harm you didn't see. That is also Allah answering your dua, even if you never realized you made one. One of the most difficult things for us as human beings is to accept when a door closes in our lives. We plan carefully, we work hard, and we set our eyes on a particular goal, whether it's a career, a relationship, or an opportunity we feel is perfect for us. And then, suddenly, everything collapses. The job we thought was certain slips away. The person we imagined a future with walks out of our lives. The path we were sure about is blocked without warning. In that moment, our first instinct is usually disappointment, even anger. We cry out, "Why, Ya Allah, when I worked so hard? Why, when I was so sincere? Why, when I wanted nothing but good?" But here lies one of the clearest signs that Allah may be working silently for us. Sometimes He closes doors out of wisdom we cannot yet see. When Allah blocks something from us, it is never out of cruelty. It is often protection. We tend to assume that what we desire must be what is best, but desire itself is limited. Our vision is narrow, shaped by the present moment and our emotions. Allah, however, sees what we cannot, the unseen outcomes, the future consequences, the hidden realities of people and circumstances. What we chase with enthusiasm today may be the very thing that brings regret tomorrow. So Allah, in His mercy, may close the door before we even enter, sparing us from harm we would not have had the strength to bear later. Think about your own life. How many times did you pray intensely for something, only to be devastated when you didn't receive it? Yet years later, you realized it was a blessing in disguise? You look back and say, Alhamdulillah, that didn't work out. If it had, I would have been stuck in a situation that would have destroyed me. That's the silent hand of Allah redirecting you. And sometimes the redirection is not just away from harm, but towards something better, something you didn't even know to ask for. The delay, the denial, the detour, each is a step toward a path designed with more wisdom than your limited mind could ever comprehend. Psychologically, this requires us to shift how we understand failure and rejection. Most people internalize closed doors as a reflection of their worth. I wasn't good enough, I wasn't chosen, I was rejected. But in the spiritual perspective, a closed door is not necessarily about your inadequacy. It is about divine wisdom. What you thought was a setback may in fact be a form of care. Imagine a child crying because their parent takes away a sharp object from their hands. The child sees deprivation, but the parent sees danger. Allah, in His perfection, does the same with us. He removes, He withholds, He blocks, not because He doesn't love us, but precisely because He does. Philosophically, this reminds us of a deeper truth. Our plans are never ultimate. We can plan, but Allah's plan encompasses ours, and His plan, unlike ours, is not flawed by ignorance. It is built on absolute knowledge of what has been, what is, and what will be. If we truly internalize this, we begin to see every closed door not as the end of the journey, but as part of a larger unfolding. We stop treating life as a series of accidents, and instead see it as a carefully woven story, where every no has meaning and every yes comes at the right time. But this doesn't mean we should stop trying. Islam is not a faith that encourages passivity. We are meant to make efforts, to pursue goals, to knock on doors. But when those doors close, we respond with humility rather than despair. We remind ourselves that perhaps the door was locked because there is another one, further down the path, that will open with ease. And often, when it finally opens, we look back and understand why the earlier ones had to remain shut. So, the next time you face a disappointment, pause before drowning in frustration. Ask yourself, what could Allah be protecting me from? What might He be guiding me toward? You may not get the answer immediately, but that trust, what we call tawakkul, becomes a source of peace in uncertainty. It allows you to walk through life with resilience, knowing that rejection is not abandonment and delay is not denial. The truth is simple yet profound. Not every closed door is a loss. Some are walls shielding you from harm. Others are signs pointing you towards something greater. When Allah says no to one thing, it's often because His silent plan is preparing you for a better yes. There are times in life when you find yourself surrounded by trials. Everything seems to be going wrong, yet deep within there is a calmness you cannot explain. You're facing pressures at work, family difficulties, health scares, financial worries, but somehow your heart is not shattered. You are not crushed in the way you thought you would be. That inner steadiness is not an accident. It is one of the most beautiful signs that Allah is working silently for you. He places tranquility in your heart during hardship. We usually think of Allah's help as something external. We imagine the solution arriving, the problem disappearing, the relief being visible and tangible. But often, Allah's first gift is not to change your circumstances, but to change your state within them. He allows the storm to rage outside, but He strengthens you inside so the storm does not destroy you. This is far more powerful than we realize. Many people live in comfort yet feel empty inside, unable to find peace even when nothing is wrong. Others live through difficulty, but walk with a serenity that others envy. What is the difference? It is the presence of sakina, the tranquility Allah sends into the hearts of those He loves. From a psychological point of view, this calmness is transformative. Normally, stress overwhelms the mind, hardship triggers anxiety, fear, and even despair. But when Allah places peace in the heart, the mind responds differently. Instead of spiraling into panic, you begin to think more clearly. Instead of seeing hardship as destruction, you begin to see it as a test with meaning. The very presence of inner peace changes the way you interpret what is happening, and this shift in perception often determines whether you break under pressure or grow stronger through it. Philosophically, this also reflects a deeper reality about human beings. True strength is not found in controlling the world, but in mastering the self. None of us has the power to stop difficulties from coming. No one can control every outcome. But what makes a person extraordinary is the ability to remain composed when life is shaking. That composure is not simply willpower. It is a gift from Allah. It is His way of telling you, I am with you, even if you cannot see me working around you. If you reflect on your own life, you may recall moments when you thought, if I ever go through that, I'll never survive. Yet when it happened, you survived. You were stronger than you expected. You coped in ways you didn't think possible. Where did that strength come from? It came from Allah, quietly fortifying your heart, giving you just enough peace to keep moving forward. That is a silent miracle. You didn't get the removal of the problem immediately, but you got something greater, the ability to carry the problem without it breaking you. There is also a profound lesson in gratitude here. Many times we overlook this inner peace because we are too busy asking for external change. We say, Ya Allah, take away my difficulty, but we forget to say, Ya Allah, thank you for giving me the strength to endure it. Gratitude for inner peace multiplies it. The more we acknowledge Allah's help inside, the more we notice how present He really is, even when life outside looks dark. And there is something else to consider. This peace is not just for survival, it is also preparation. Allah strengthens your heart today so that tomorrow, when greater tests come, you are ready. He builds resilience in you silently through every moment of calmness He places in your chest during chaos. When you look back, you realize that what you once thought was unbearable became the very experience that grew you. Your patience, your perspective, your closeness to Allah, all of it deepened because He gave you peace in difficulty rather than ease immediately. So the next time you are in pain but find yourself strangely calm, recognize it for what it is. It is not weakness, it is not denial, it is Allah working within you. That silent calm is His mercy, His way of telling you that your story is not over and that you are never alone in the struggle. And when you acknowledge this, your entire relationship with hardship changes. You stop seeing it as abandonment and start seeing it as companionship, the companionship of Allah through His gift of peace. Never underestimate the strength of a calm heart in the middle of chaos. That calm is not yours, it is Allah's, placed inside you. And when He is the source of your strength, nothing can truly break you. Another sign that Allah is working silently for you is when blessings arrive at the exact moment you need them, often in ways you never expected. We call these unexpected blessings. You may be struggling with finances, uncertain of how you'll make ends meet, and suddenly a solution presents itself. A payment you had forgotten about comes through, someone offers support, or a door of opportunity opens at the perfect time. Or perhaps you are burdened emotionally, feeling lost and overwhelmed, and then a conversation, a reminder, or a piece of guidance reaches you, lifting your spirits when you least expected relief. These are not coincidences. They are moments of divine intervention that unfold quietly, without fanfare, as a reminder that Allah is ever aware of your needs. One of the mistakes we make is believing that blessings must always be grand and obvious. We think they must come in the form of massive breakthroughs, winning a contract, receiving a huge amount of money, or experiencing a life-changing miracle. But in reality, some of the greatest blessings are subtle, almost hidden. A simple meal that nourishes you when you are hungry, a message that reaches you when you are down, or even a delay that saves you from harm. These are silent blessings. Allah does not always announce His gifts with thunder and lightning. Sometimes he wraps them in ordinary moments that, upon reflection, carry extraordinary meaning. Psychologically, this changes the way we view our daily lives. Many people live in constant dissatisfaction because they are waiting for huge blessings while ignoring the smaller, consistent provisions that are already surrounding them. They say, "When Allah answers my big dua, then I'll be happy." But gratitude is not about waiting for the big, it's about recognizing the small. And ironically, it is often those who recognize the small blessings who eventually receive the bigger ones. This is why Allah tells us in the Qur'an, "If you are grateful, I will surely increase you." Gratitude opens the door to abundance, while ingratitude blinds us to the mercy already in our possession. Philosophically, these unexpected blessings are also a reminder that we are not in control. No matter how much we plan, we cannot fully guarantee provision. You can have the most carefully calculated financial plan, and one unexpected event can shake it. You can have the best career trajectory mapped out, and life can turn suddenly. But then, equally unexpectedly, Allah can replace what you lost in a way that you never anticipated. This keeps us humble, reminding us that the true provider is not our employer, not our own intelligence, not even the people who support us. It is Allah, and He provides in ways we cannot predict. Think of the many times in your life when something arrived just in time. Maybe it was help from someone you didn't even know cared about you. Maybe it was an opportunity that seemed to come out of nowhere. Maybe it was relief from a difficulty when you thought you were at your breaking point. At the time, you might have called it luck or good timing. But if you look with the eye of faith, you recognize it as Allah's silent hand arranging events in your favor. This awareness should shape our mindset. Instead of living with anxiety about what will happen tomorrow, we should remember the unexpected provisions of yesterday. If Allah has already carried you through countless moments with His quiet blessings, why should you doubt that He will continue? This does not mean we stop striving. Our faith is one of effort and action. But it means we strive with trust, knowing that the outcome is not bound by our calculations. The unseen world is filled with possibilities beyond what our minds can predict. And there's something else. These unexpected blessings often come not just as relief, but as reminders. They remind us that Allah is near, that He is listening, even when we thought He was silent. They teach us that we are never abandoned, and they gently guide us back to Him with gratitude. Each blessing is like a quiet knock on the door of your heart, saying, "Did you notice? I am here, caring for you." So the next time relief comes suddenly, don't dismiss it as chance. Don't reduce it to mere coincidence. Recognize it as a deliberate act of mercy. Thank Allah for it, even if it seems small, because that acknowledgement itself may invite more silent blessings into your life. Every unexpected blessing is a reminder that Allah knows your needs before you even voice them. And when you learn to see His gifts in both the big and the small, you begin to realize that you were never left on your own for even a moment. Another way Allah works silently in our lives is through subtle reminders, those moments of guidance that appear at the right time, often without us searching for them. You might be struggling with a decision, confused about which way to go, and then you stumble across a verse of the Qur'an that feels like it was revealed just for you. Or you hear a lecture, or even a single sentence from someone that directly addresses the very question weighing on your heart. Sometimes it's not even words. It could be an event, a sign in nature, or a situation that shakes you into realizing something you had been ignoring. These are not accidents. They are Allah's way of quietly steering you back onto the right path. We often underestimate the value of these gentle nudges. Because they don't come as dramatic revelations, we dismiss them as random coincidences. But if you look closer, you'll notice the timing is almost always perfect. The reminder reaches you when you are most receptive, when your heart is open, or when you're at risk of slipping. Allah does not need to shake the ground to get your attention. Sometimes all He does is place the right words in your path, and suddenly your entire perspective shifts. From a psychological angle, these subtle reminders are deeply important. The human mind is forgetful. We become absorbed in our routines, distracted by work, family, ambitions, and we forget our greater purpose. We forget the principles we once knew. A reminder, even a small one, jolts us back into awareness. It interrupts our autopilot and forces us to reconsider how we are living. Often, people who make major changes in their lives, repenting from sin, rediscovering their faith, or reprioritizing what matters, do so because of a single reminder that struck at the right moment. Philosophically, this shows us something profound about divine mercy. Allah does not leave us lost without sending signs. Even when we drift, He sends threads to pull us back, and those reminders are tailored. What reaches you may not affect someone else, and what affects someone else may pass unnoticed by you. That's because Allah knows your inner state, your struggles, your vulnerabilities, and He sends what is needed for you in the form that will reach your heart. This personal nature of divine guidance is evidence of how intimately Allah is involved in your journey. Think about it in your own life. How many times have you been on the verge of making a poor decision, and something happened that made you hesitate? Perhaps it was a conversation with a friend, or perhaps it was seeing the consequences of that same decision in someone else's life. At the time, you might have brushed it off, but later, when you reflect, you realize Allah was whispering to you, quietly protecting you from yourself, and it's not only about avoiding harm. Sometimes, these reminders awaken us to opportunities for good that we would otherwise overlook. You might hear someone speak about charity, and suddenly you feel compelled to give at a time when someone desperately needed your help. You might be reminded of prayer, and that moment of remembrance reestablishes your connection with Allah. These moments shape our destiny in ways far beyond what we see. A small reminder can spark a decision that transforms the course of your life. Now here's the challenge. We have to learn to recognize and respect these subtle reminders. Too often we treat them lightly. We say, "Oh, that's interesting," and then we move on as if nothing happened. But every reminder is a trust. It is Allah reaching out to you. If you ignore it, you may not get it again in the same form. If you act on it, you may open the door to greater guidance and mercy. This is why the Qur'an emphasizes dhikr, remembrance. The more you live in remembrance of Allah, the more sensitive you become to His reminders. Your heart becomes softer, more receptive. You begin to notice the guidance He places before you, and instead of dismissing it, you treat it as the treasure it truly is. So the next time you come across a verse, a word, or even an event that feels strangely personal, don't overlook it. Don't call it a coincidence. Pause and reflect. Ask yourself, what is Allah trying to show me right now? That question alone could change the way you live. The truth is, Allah's guidance is not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it comes as a whisper, a gentle reminder tailored just for you. If you learn to hear it and act on it, you'll realize that you were never walking alone. He was guiding you, step by step, all along. There is another sign that Allah is working silently in your life, and it is one that many people find the hardest to accept, when He allows you to go through delays and tests. We live in a world of immediacy. We want quick answers, instant relief, fast success. When things take longer than we hoped, or when struggles pile up instead of easing, we often assume something is wrong. We say, "Why is Allah not helping me? Why is He not answering my prayers?" But very often, those very delays and tests are His silent work in your life. They are the way He prepares you for what is to come. Think about it carefully. Growth rarely happens in comfort. Muscles are built through strain, not ease. Wisdom is gained through mistakes, not perfection. Patience, resilience, and deep trust in Allah do not emerge in moments of smooth sailing. They are cultivated in moments of waiting, struggling, and enduring. When Allah tests you, it is not because He has abandoned you. It is because He is strengthening you, refining you, molding you into someone who can handle greater blessings when they arrive. From a psychological perspective, this is a powerful truth. Human beings often overestimate their readiness. We think we are ready for success, for leadership, for responsibility, for certain relationships. But if those things were given to us too early, we might collapse under their weight. The delay is not rejection, it is training. Each hardship, each period of waiting, each challenge you overcome adds another layer of resilience, another layer of maturity, another layer of wisdom. By the time the blessing arrives, you are not only ready to receive it, but to carry it without it breaking you. Philosophically, delays and tests also remind us of the nature of this world. This life is not Jannah. It is not meant to be perfect, smooth, or free of difficulty. It is meant to shape you, test you, and expose what lies within your heart. Allah says in the Qur'an, Do people think that they will be left alone because they say, "We believe and will not be tested"? The tests are part of the process of faith itself. Without them, we would never know the sincerity of our belief, nor would we reach the spiritual depth that trials produce. The test is not in the way, it is the way. Reflect for a moment on the delays you've faced in your life. Perhaps you prayed for something years ago, and only recently it came to pass. When you look back, you realize that had it come earlier, you would not have been ready. You might not have appreciated it, or you might not have handled it wisely. But because of the wait, the blessing felt sweeter, more valuable, and you carried it with greater responsibility. This hindsight is proof that Allah's timing was perfect, even if, at the time, it felt unbearable. And then there are the tests. They break us open, but in breaking us, they often remove arrogance, ego, or dependence on the wrong things. They force us to turn to Allah in ways we never would have if life had stayed easy. Many people will tell you that the closest they have ever felt to Allah was not in times of ease, but in times of hardship. Why? Because the test stripped away illusions and left them with the only reality that mattered, their need for Him. So instead of resenting delays and tests, we must learn to reframe them. They are not punishments, they are investments. They are signs that Allah sees something in you worth strengthening. They are His way of saying, "I am preparing you for something greater, even if you cannot see it yet." If you adopt this mindset, patience becomes easier, waiting becomes purposeful, struggle becomes transformative rather than destructive. This does not mean it will always feel pleasant. Pain is still pain, waiting is still hard, tests are still heavy. But with the right perspective, you can carry them differently. You can carry them with trust instead of despair, with hope instead of bitterness. And when you finally emerge from them, you will not just have survived, you will have grown. So the next time you feel stuck in delay or weighed down by a test, remind yourself, Allah is not ignoring you. He is working silently within you, shaping you for what is ahead. And when the blessing finally arrives, you will look back and realize that the delay and the test were not obstacles at all. They were the very path that led you to where you were meant to be. The delays you resist today may be the very foundations of the blessings you will thank Allah for tomorrow.